Let me jump to this story from the Daily Mail. Quote,
Good morning, good morning. Go, go, gadget, go. Okay, and good morning. I almost gave the show away there. Steve says it's a public service to Cam's comment, who really hit the nail on the head and definitely got the point. Says clickbaity titty thumbnail is clickbaity titty. That's a good start. And yes, the title of this episode is a thank you to my loving wife, and I'm going to explain that. And I'm going to explain it in, in no uncertain terms. But what we're going to do here, there's this podcast called Whatever, the Whatever Podcast. And it has been absolutely exploding in popularity. It's climbing up algorithms. I'm being hit with it all the time. And I think, okay, there are some obvious reasons that the podcast is popular, not least of which is you saw the thumbnail. I mean, it's just a wall of titties every day, right? But in particular, what happens on this podcast is the guy has on social media influencers. Now, as near as I can tell, the majority of these so-called influencers are basically OnlyFans stars. And I'm going to show you some clips from it. We're going to talk about those a little bit. And a lot of what they talk about is dating, modern dating, and the modern dating culture, the swipey apps, your Tinder and Grindr and all that kind of crap. Well, mostly Tinder because, let's be real, titties, not the Grindr crowd. But what's amazing, like I've made comments on several of the videos asking questions like, is there a vapid horse screener to guarantee that you just avoid intelligent thoughts in the panel? And Steve Rodemeyer says dating in quotes, and yeah, absolutely dating in quotes, because one of the things these girls talk about a lot is what they call body count. Y'all, let me be clear about something. Body count does matter. It matters a lot. I'll go into some of the reasons that body counts matter. And one of the many reasons I adore my loving wife is that she respects my high body count. I have a higher body count than many of the men that you will meet. But when I say it, understand that I'm referring to the way I got my combat action badge. That's the kind of body count a young lady should be interested in, whether or not you're marrying a man who had the steel scrot to stand up and defend your constitutional rights to live. Not how many women he slept with. And to be clear, when you're talking about body count in the context that these people are, that number should be low. That number should be James Earl Jones singing Mac the Knife, low. So, and the reason I titled this episode a thank you to my loving wife, we've been married for 17 years now, 17 or 18. We've been married for a long damn time. And, 4 kids. We have had a wonderful marriage. In fact, just this weekend, I kind of prefaced or previewed a little bit that we were doing the mead thing Saturday. My folks kept the kids all weekend, right? mom and dad came and picked up my 4 kids, my numerous and belligerent horde, and took them down to the farm where they played outside and went fishing and stomping in the creek and all that stuff all weekend. And the wife and I went to, hey, there she is. Good morning, babe. Love you. And thank you so much. But we went to the Viking Alchemist Mead Festival on Saturday, and we had a good time. If I'm being fair, the craft show part of the festival was a little disappointing, just kind of boilerplate, but the mead was excellent, and I got two jugs of very good mead there. And then we went out to a good lunch with some good friends, and that was fantastic. And then we went and saw John Wick 4, which, by the way, is probably what Cameron and I are going to be talking about on Wednesday, because hell yes. And there's going to be a big fat spoiler alert on that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what dating should look like. We didn't swipe through an app, get shit-faced, and bang it out never to speak again. Just so we can go and swipe through an app and get shit-faced and bang it out with somebody else. Now, since we've been married, literally the entire time we've been married, my wife and I have spent time just hanging out, having a drink, just chilling, watching TV from time to time, and we have enjoyed shows like How I Met Your Mother. There's good comedy there, coupling, things like that. And I want you to understand that when good people watch those shows and are amused, it's because it is mind-breakingly hilarious to watch these late 20-somethings who are completely lost. Completely and nearly irrevocably lost. It's almost more schadenfreude than comedy. And the whole time we've been married, we've watched shows like that. My wife's a few years younger than me. So we basically met, dated, got engaged, got married. I was 26 when we got married. And she had just turned 21. So I didn't do a lot of dating before we met. And obviously I caught her before the dating world did, and thank gods for that. And she will look at me while we're watching one of these shows and see one of these vapid idiots say something stupid. She'll look over at me and say, thank you. And I do the same to her. And that has actually been a foundational cornerstone in our relationship, is the deep appreciation we have for one another, for having saved one another from the utter indignity and vapid uselessness that is the modern American dating world. Now, in fairness, we're talking about a decade and change ago that we got together, and the dating world at that point had not degenerated quite so severely, but it was still pretty bad. Right? Now, like when we met, we were at a school for the military, and one of the things that was incredibly popular among the other soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines at that school were these hotel parties where they would literally pass one another around. Right? I found myself once at one such party, and unfortunately I had to leave my truck at the hotel and walk down the street to a different hotel to get away from the hotel, because I did have one too many adult beverages before I realized what exactly was about to be going on. I was like, nope, no, thank you. I don't want to come up on that whiz quiz. Thank you very much. That was a little before Fee and I met. And Cameron says, found myself. yeah, I found myself walking the hell away from that nonsense. But, and I mean, I was at toga parties before that, right? And it didn't go that way. I'm trying to be a little careful and cagey with the language I use for this particular episode, and I'm about to dig into some nasty. But before that, I just have to say one more time, to my dear and loving wife, you beautiful, spectacular woman, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for our 4 beautiful children and saving me from being in any way entangled in even the simplest conversation with these vapid whores. Let me give you a little flavor of what I'm talking about here. And I will admit fully that I have it's been a bit of a guilty pleasure to watch these women get just obliterated by intelligent men. There's one last thing I want to say before I get into these. I think one of the biggest contributors to the massive rise in popularity of this podcast, and I think this is pretty easily shown by the numbers, Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire went on there and had one of these. It's like a 5-hour podcast, I think. And Michael Knowles went on there. And Michael Knowles is a very traditional Catholic, married young, has a few children. And like they have this whole conversation at one point about oral, and it's funny to see this traditional Catholic Italian guy he's clearly just completely mortified by the idea of it, and that's pretty solid content. But yeah, I think Michael Knowles really put these guys on the map about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they've been meteoric in rise since then. But let me show you a couple of these. Like this one, the little title on this particular short is "Men are not allowed to have preferences, standards, and boundaries."
Ultimate thing, if I can do a little psychoanalysis, that might be preventing someone like you from attaining your dream girl is you have this block where you think so much about body count, so much about her being a high value woman.
So you're saying I'm going in with what? Too much expectations?
I don't even think it's expectations. I think it's judgment. A little like too much judgment instead of taking into account all these other things. You're focused on these like minuscule things and you're...
Minuscule?
Okay, and so minuscule includes apparently whether or not she's a high value woman. There are attributes which make a human being higher or lower value. And yes, those attributes include actual monetary worth. Now, right, ladies, do you want a man? Do you want a man you have to pay? Right? Do you want to pay all the bills? Do you want a man to keep house for you while you go to work and pay all the bills? Because, I mean, if you want that, they're out there. Right? Apparently, about half of 81 million voters are out there for you, sweetheart. Right? Or do you want a man who can raise children who don't work for OnlyFans? Right? Ladies, do you want a man who always agrees with you? Or do you want a man who's right? Do you want a man who does the dishes all the time and knows how to fold the laundry correctly? Or do you want one who can pay the bills? And my wife says some women are interested in winning bread money and having their house kept. And I know what she's saying, and we're yeah. And there's one of the questions that I heard him ask, and I don't think I have this clip pulled up, but he asks the question, ladies, is what you really want the sugar without the daddy? It's like, Yeah. And what he's referring to is these women doing the OnlyFans stuff. And in one of the clips, like, he asks them, what kind of content do you do? And they go through and, oh, I do BG, I do GG, I do solo, I do that. And I'm like, it's right. And it's all about it's all about how they make money producing pornography. And then he asks them if they've ever done traditional, I guess I've already said the word, but if they ever do the traditional adult film type material, which what he's referring to is, the shall we say, actors go to the set and they're paid, $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 to perform for the cameras one time. And then the producer distributes that and keeps the money off of that. That's kind of the tradition that was kind of the traditional model where the participants engage, are paid, and go. And one of them says, "No, I've always thought that was so gross." I'm like, other than the financial arrangement, how is that different than the OnlyFans content you're producing, sweetheart? Like, the only meaningful difference here is you're maintaining and cleaning your own set, shall we call it. So I guess you've got a better guarantee that you've got clean sheets. But you're clearly, they talk about the body count, and some of these girls are saying that they've got body counts in the triple digits, 130, 240, stuff like that, big numbers. And it's like, how exactly are you differentiating yourself from that, other than the financial, right? Because she didn't say it sounds like a bad deal. I make more money doing it my way. She said it sounds gross. And I don't understand how she came to that conclusion. But, like this guy here.
Have choice with women in the first place. He has to build himself up. He has to most guys, they have to be charming, make a bunch of money, have some status, have some swag about them. Like, that's to even have more than one woman interested in them in the first place.
And that's an important distinction that has to be remembered, especially when you're talking about the dating app situation. Jordan Peterson talks about this often. When one of the things that sets humanity apart from other mammals and animals generally is that the female of the species is sexually selective, which is to say that rather than just, with the majority of animals, a very, very few exceptions, most of which are either birds or primates. And I'm not sure that there's anything outside of some birds and most primates where there's sexual selectivity, but the female goes into season, and then the nearest male that's aware of it takes advantage of that situation. Whereas with human social structure, men compete for status and achievement, and they earn a level of accolade and just basically being made. The world is aware of them. Women, however, women compete not for the status of being selected, but they compete for the status level of right of first refusal. Right? So, take the cheerleader squad and the football team, right? The men compete on competence levels in order to achieve positions in the football team, captain, quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. The cheerleaders compete similarly, but what they get is very different. The man gets to be the one that is desirable. The cheerleader squad eliminates those who are not generally desirable, and then peer selects through competition from those who are physically and visibly desirable to select those who are also in some capacity, whether it's physical fitness, cunning, competitive craftiness, someone who is also, in addition to being physically desirable, visibly desirable, competently desirable. And then she has earned the right of first refusal, and she might choose to go for the quarterback instead of the captain, right? But the second string cheerleader, she doesn't get to take a swing at that captain until the head cheerleader has said, not my bag. It doesn't work the other way around. It does not work the other way around. Okay? So I'm glad Steve Rodemeyer's watching this. He remembers he can corroborate some of this. Years and years and years ago, when we were in Savannah, which is very much an art town. I mean, the Savannah College of Art and Design. As many of you know, I used to do competitive slam poetry, and I had no shit groupies in that little college town in Savannah, and to a lesser extent in Monterey. Monterey's more of a military and academic town, but I had groupies, and guess what? I didn't sleep with a bunch of groupies. That shit's dangerous. Dangerous. But highly entertaining. Just having the groupies. People that would never miss a show, people that paid good tips, people that hung around after the show and wanted to get to know you. That was very much a part of my life for a few years there. And I definitely could have gone another direction with that, and I am very glad I did not. And these women right here, like, these are another generation removed from the groupies that I had back in the early aughts. I mean, we're talking. These women are. I called them vapid whores, and I cannot think of a more appropriate way to phrase that. Let me see if I can find. I had another clip pulled up from these girls. Oh, this one's hilarious.
I didn't know that I was gonna be talking to a bunch of illiterate people who don't know how to read.
You're literally 15. What do you know?
Bro, you know how to read.
Yes, I do know how to read.
Name 10 books.
Are you serious?
Yes, 100%. Name 10 books.
Well, I read Game of Thrones. I'm obsessed with like the Twilight series.
Called?
Game of Thrones, the
Don't
series.
What's the book called? It's not called Game of Thrones. She's just trying to come up with a bunch of nonsense, and she can't name any actual books.
Bro, shut up, kid. You're changing the subject.
Okay,
actually.
3 books.
Okay. Well, the Game of Thrones series,
That's not a book.
Twilight
I
series.
want the name
It
of
is
the
a book. It is a book.
No, but I want the name of the book.
I'll Google the book right now. Matter of fact, you want to show?
That negates the point.
Let me show you the series since you don't believe me. I'll show you since you don't believe me.
The book is called The Song of Ice and Fire. Now, before you embarrass yourself by looking up the name of a.
I thought you'd get a chuckle out of that one, Rod. Oh, you read? Name 10 books. Just name 10 books. That one.
Why
that
is
one
this
got me
the one
chuckling
issue?
good.
There are many.
Step out.
No.
Why is this the one issue that you wouldn't change your mind on?
Well, there's honestly multiple reasons why. Some of it does stem in racism as well.
You mean because most black babies in New York are aborted and not born? That would be racist, right?
No, I mean, because the issue was the most people having, not the most people, the majority, the highest percentage of people having abortions are African American women or minority women in general.
Right. The majority of black babies in New York City are being killed. But the most dangerous place for a black person in New York City is in his mother's womb. That's very racist, I agree.
Is it?
And Planned Parenthood targets the black
Can we not be calling them babies?
Yeah, they're
What should I call them?
fetuses.
Oh God, and that, like I said, I've left comments on many of these videos saying, guys, seriously, do you screen these women to guarantee a certain maximum IQ of like 80? Right? I wear Crocs most of the time, or slip-on shoes, because frankly the Army broke me and I don't bend so good. But unlike these women, there was a point in my life where I could tie shoes. Now, given their individual professions, I guarantee you these slip-ons have nothing to do with their flexibility. Steve says vapid is not a strong enough word, and I absolutely have to agree with you on that one.
Big dick energy.
And this is the problem with trying to share these clips from YouTube is they keep autoplaying. I don't want to autoplay your garbage. I wanted to hit some in particular ones. Okay. Anyway, I think I've beat that pig just enough. What I want you guys to pay attention to here, because I know my audience, I know a lot of you are middle-aged and older conservatives. Some of you have already raised your children. Some of you, like me, are in the process of raising your children. And what I want you to understand is this right here. Well, okay, no. Let me be fair. The Whatever podcast is doing great work. It on the face of it, it's basically giving these quote unquote influencers access to an audience. But what's really happening with these influencers that go on this show is they're being fully displayed as the immoral and unintelligible sociopathic vapid whores that they are. But these are, in fact, the quote-unquote so-called influencers who seek to access your children. Right? Many of the women that go on these shows who are actively engaged in homoerotica for profit are advocating for abortion. They're advocating for the suppression of dissenting opinion. They're advocating for specialized distribution of transgender material. Right? Like, you hear them bitch about they just banned drag queens in Tennessee. No, they didn't. In fact, the law doesn't change anything except for suggesting that perhaps the law should be enforced, because the so-called transgender drag queen ban in Tennessee, this is a great example. What it says is you cannot perform in drag vulgar sexual acts in front of children. Guess what? It's already illegal to take children into skin bars. You cannot take your daughters or your sons, you cannot take your underage children into, like, the Cheetah. You can't take your kids to titty bars or Swingin' Richards, right? And their argument is that barring children from transgressive sexually explicit material is somehow different than barring them from more traditional sexually explicit material. Right? Let me be clear about this. I don't want my kids in any nudie bar. I don't want my kids in any entertainment venue that is performing explicit anything. And Rod, yep, that's for Rod right there. So, GCM's laughing at Swingin' Richards. Oh no, that is a bar in Atlanta, or at least it was when I was in my 20s. I'm pretty sure that's still there. But yeah, that's the name of the bar. I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it right there. I'm gonna wrap this up with saying once again, thank you to my loving wife. The last thing I want to say, this is kind of housekeeping stuff. I've been noticing that we're getting a lot more views on Rumble than we are on the YouTube, and I think y'all know why that is. Rumble is not a censorious shit pile like YouTube is. YouTube just got a new CEO, and he appears to promise that he's going to continue all the sociopathy and censorship that has been a part of the YouTube platforms. And so we can't expect that to improve dramatically in the future. But those of you that are watching on Rumble, thank you so much for your continued support. Please hit the like and follow buttons and share. You cannot help me more than sharing with your friends and family and hell, distant acquaintances. Sharing is winning here. And then finally, I'm going to throw this. I don't know if there will be a show tomorrow because I have an earlier appointment, and I may not be able. I may be able to pre-record something this evening, but I may not be around to do a show tomorrow morning. So normally I tell you, if you don't see us on YouTube, it's because we got yeeted over something we said, and you can go check us out on Rumble. Tomorrow will be one of those very few exceptions where we're just not here because we're busy. So thanks for watching. We love you, and we will see you at least Wednesday, if not tomorrow. Be safe out there, guys.